Cool. Nighttime yin yoga. We'll start to chill out, even though the days are brighter now, so night is a little bit more extended into the day, so I'm still feeling the energy of the day for sure. But we can start to ground ourselves, start to quiet everything down very slowly. We can gather ourselves.
That could not have been planned more perfect.
I was just laughing because I was like, and we just hear the sounds. And even amidst the chaos, there's like still this slowing down. All the sounds will come, but we can still just start to tune into the body. So let's find a seat and we'll start our practice with a bow. Let's just sit for a second. You can close your eyes, or you could have a light gaze about 2 feet in front of you on the floor. Soft belly, soft jaw. Let's start to bring some attention to the bones of the body. What do the bones feel like? Can you imagine a skeleton sitting the way that you're sitting? You can see all the bones as best as you can. And maybe start to overlay that skeletal map into your own sensory awareness. Just feeling that sense of structure inside. Where all the pieces fit together deep under the skin, under the muscle, bony part of the body, the structure of the house, the framework. You can feel the sit bones, the legs, how they're bent, and how they're connected to the big pelvic bowl. Notice the heaviness. Feel the spine, how it's not just on the back side of the body, but how it moves through the center. The ribs, how bendable they are, how they can expand and contract. Like bucket handles. The clavicle and sternum. Protection for your heart, for your lungs. the weight, the skull. The skull makes the shape of our face and head. It holds the brain. Just feeling our shape right now. Breathing and feeling the heaviness of the bones and the shape they create. How some bones protect and some bones connect to bend. We can marvel a little bit at how we're made and how we're formed, and how all these parts work to get us around, to move us, to make us mobile, to keep us still. Without the skeleton, we'd have no shape. So a few more breaths, just feeling the shape of yourself, your own unique center, structure. Good. And now let's just start to wiggle the fingers, feeling all the little digits. You can start to just feel each finger joint, all the little bony parts of the finger. What's it like to move from the bony part? And let the whole hand get involved, just feeling your skeleton underneath the skin and bone. Move it to your arms. Just kind of feel the bendiness of the joints and where the structure of the arms comes into play. Shoulders. A little bit different than moving like fluids or moving organ parts. This is just bone. Kind of funny, kind of wobbly and jointy. And let's just take a quick arm stretch. Let's start with the left arm and bring it across the chest and just stretch it out. Let the hand just lay limp. We're just going into that shoulder blade and the whole side of the arm. Let it feel good. I like to just kind of take it into like a little bit of a side bend, just so it feels like a big yawn kind of stretch. Where it's like, that feels good. It feels good to move things around. Coming back to center, letting that go. And we'll do it again on the other side. Right arm across the chest. Big stretch. Maybe a tiny side bend over to the left, just to open up the ribs a little bit. Get behind the scapula. Nice and juicy stretch. Come back to center. Hands in the lap. And let's just do some neck circles, because that feels good too. Just opening up the neck and letting the head fall down, round and around, very slowly. And without any sighs or any sounds that want to escape the throat. And the other way, turning the head in the opposite direction. I look like the girl from The Ring.
Oh, sorry. I figured that needed a real laugh out loud.
Letting that go. It felt good. It felt good to be the girl from The Ring. And now we'll just start to get into some more physical movement now that we're a little bit warmer and ready for our practice. So let's take it to the floor to a child's pose. Have a bolster nearby or a couple of pillows or a pillow on top of a block. But don't quite use the bolster yet. We're just going to start in a closed-kneed child's pose just to get into it, and we'll grow it as we go. Dropping down. Feeling your bones again. Now they're in this shape on the floor. Different kind of relationship to gravity. Different kind of forces in between. Different bendable parts. Some joints are now compressed. Some joints are opening. Let the heaviness of the bones draw you deeper towards the earth. There's no need to hold yourself up or muscle through anything. The bones will hold it all together. They'll maintain the structure. And then ever so slightly, just lifting up, picking up your head. Maybe the head and the arms feel kind of heavy as you lift up. And just sneak your bolster or your stack of props underneath you. If you've got a long bolster, which I don't, but if you've got one, let it touch your abdomen. Let it be really long and inside, right underneath your psoas muscle in the solar plexus area. So that's got some good compression on the belly too. And you can still stretch out longer. And maybe the knees sneak a little bit farther away where it feels like that comfortable edge. And you can let your cheek rest on either side. Releasing into the wide-kneed child's pose. Letting the bones keep the shape without the muscles having to effort to do so. when thoughts come in, they're just like the sounds outside. They're here for a moment and then they drive away. Perhaps momentarily irritating, surprising. Some kind of emotion arises when we see the thought or hear the sound or feel a sensation. And we can just notice it and maybe lean in towards it. What happens when we work with it? Allow it. Let it spread out. Find some space inside it without clinging or holding, pushing it away or resisting. If your head is turned one way, perhaps you could very gently pick it up and turn it to the other side. One side's a little bit different than the other, but we could try out the other one. If it becomes kind of weird, you could always change it back. And we could see what's going on with the side we don't really favor. Thinking about the bones that make up the spine. Feeling a sense of release in the back of the body. All the spaces in between each vertebrae, spongy. Let them just kind of suspend. Imagine that they're just floating there, connected to the floating ribs. Not stuck or hard. There's a spaciousness, a flow, a sense of flow. And we'll just be in this child's pose for a little bit longer. Just staying with our sensory exploration. Let's start to make our way out of the child's pose, starting to slowly lift the heavy bones away from their props, away from the support of the floor. Gently walking back quietly, not to disturb. And let's come into a tabletop position to get out of this. Walk the feet behind you, feel the compression, release all the decompressing joints. Everything feels kind of achy and maybe tender. We can just take some subtle movements to open back up, feeling the blood flow bursting back in. And this is also good for the bones because the tissues love to be compressed. It makes all the difference when they can get that compression to add new tissues, to add new cells that have fresh blood, more fluid, more lubrication. Lots of science that I hardly know, but can feel. And when you hear it named, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's how you get stronger. That's how you remain easy in movement. And so now keep the bolster nearby. We're going to come into a supported bridge. And so if you've got a bolster, let's have it go horizontally so that it's not the length of the spine. It's just right underneath the sacrum. So you can also use a block here too. Just something that's going to go under the flat part. And you might have to just arrange yourself on top of it. Let your head come down to the floor. Your knees can be bent. You're just going to have to adjust to get the kind of support you want based on whatever instrument you're using. And just finding this nice bridge pose. Your hands can lay by your sides, or you can bring your arms up over your head. And if you're feeling like you want a little bit more sensation, you can extend the legs out long. But we'll just be in this bridge for a little while, so you can always go back and forth. Straight legs or bent knees. And the knees could point towards each other, or they could just be parallel. But we're finding the ground again, finding the gravity. The gravity goes directly to the bones. The bones navigate the gravity to help us lift and settle, to ground and suspend. So just letting everything be heavy here. The bones keep the shape. Bending the knees. Sliding them back up. See if we're in this bent knee bridge again. And from here, let's just cross the right ankle over the left knee. So we're in a figure four, but it's this bridge figure four. And maybe you want to stay here, or maybe you want to just bring this into a fold, and you don't even need your hands here because the prop underneath kind of just lifts it right up. And so this might not be where you want to be today, but you can always go back and forth. And a new thing that I learned, this is inspired by my teacher, Kelly, you can also straighten that left leg, and that adds some more sensation too. So a different way of doing this figure four, kind of strange relationship to gravity. Cool, yeah. But try it out. See if you like it. And we won't be here very long. You can go back and forth, as I said. Feeling the different kind of compression here. Different kind of weight. Perhaps some different muscles at work. But again, just knowing that the bones are positioned in such a way that they're holding your shape. So the muscles in the face can relax because the skull is going to keep the shape of the face. We don't have to make it appear a certain way right now. Even the skin at the top of the head can ease up a little bit, less gripping. In the back of the brain, top of the skull, forehead. Really cool to imagine our skeletons. Now we all have one. We all have different ones, but they're all kind of the same. Okay, so if you've got that left leg up, you can start to bend it and just take it one step at a time. Bring the left foot to the floor. Help that right foot down really slowly. Maybe knocking the knees together. Then again, through all of this, you could totally have your arms up or crisscrossed over your head. Now we'll bring that left ankle to the right leg and bring the right leg up behind, either bent and just folded or straightened out. Checking out what that's like, what that does to the hips, how that feels with the bones. Just a fun time. Just a fun time to try. See what our bodies are up to. Feeling what you feel. Noticing the stories, noticing the habits, noticing our attitude towards the noticing. Let that attitude be gentle, friendly, compassionate, welcoming. And we can start to come out of this figure 4, bending the leg, bringing the right foot down, uncrossing the ankle, and maybe lifting the hips slightly to just remove the bolster from underneath you and coming back to just a flat back. Your knees can still be bent, or you can straighten them out. Undoing, creating a different relationship to your body, to your floor. Noticing how that was affected, what happened. Imagining the skeleton inside you laying on the floor. And we'll just come up one more time. Come up to sit. Let's do a really short dragonfly. So just spreading the feet apart, creating a V shape with the legs. You could put a little bit of a cushion underneath you if you want, but we can just let the feet kind of splay out to the sides today. If you do have a long bolster, it would be really fun to make a ramp with it that you could just rest your head on. But I don't have the height, so I will just stack things and then just let my head rest. Just getting kind of creative with what you've got and finding that the floor can just come right up to meet you with whatever you decide to stack. And like I said, the toes, it's okay if they turn out to the side. The knees can kind of roll out. Just finding the first layer where it feels like, oh, this is where I stop in this forward fold. Finding support to let the gravity move through you effortlessly. Your hands aren't pulling anything, they're not reaching towards anything. Wherever they land, they land. I watched this show on Netflix called Midnight Gospel. It's really interesting. And they talk a lot about meditation and being alive. I mean, it's a trippy show, really, really funny. But they interview people on the show, and this one fellow that they interviewed, his name was David Nichtern. I had to look him up, but he is a meditation guide, and he spoke briefly on the show about meditation, and I just thought it was so simple the way he put it, that we think about stillness, silence, and spaciousness. Silence, so there's room to feel, to hear, to be. Stillness, so there's room to feel the spaciousness. And then spaciousness, so there's room for whatever. He said it much nicer than I just did, but I love that. Just thinking about those things while we're here. Stillness, silence, spaciousness. So we can start to lift up out of this dragonfly pose. Start to come back. Maybe make a big X with the body. Stretching out wide. But we'll try to keep everything in this stillness and silent way. To come onto our backs. We'll end today with a twist. So just folding the knees up towards the chest, perhaps a little rock, and then bringing the knees over to either side. Doesn't matter which one. And it doesn't matter if the opposite shoulder doesn't reach the floor. We're just going for a little bit of twisting sensation. A gentle, easy twist. Feeling how the bones are folded and how you don't need to use your muscle to hold the bones into place. You kind of just stack and they stay there. Silence, stillness, spaciousness. Noticing if there's any storyline that's making any of the tissues in your body, particularly in the face, squish up, tense up, and let that go. Let the tissues just smooth out. Nice and spacey. And we can take that twist over to the other side now. Stopping in the center, noticing how your body feels, and rocking the knees over to the other side, just stacking the bones, twisting the spine, imagining what your little skeleton would look like here. Feel the heavy framework, precise, solid, durable. The bones have a very specific quality. Coming back to center, unwinding, expanding out onto the floor, flattening out, complete release. Taking any final movements before your Shavasana, whatever is calling to you to get ready. This final rest. When you're ready, just dropping in to the Shavasana state of mind. Letting go. Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. whatever is there. We can pretend there's a little pillow next to our head, and the thoughts can just be placed gently on the pillow. They'll be there when we need to go back. Feeling the skin on your back spreading out with each exhale. Feel your entire container spreading out with each exhale. Start to bring some deeper stretches, deeper breaths, any kind of movement back into the body. Find your way onto your side. Give yourself a little hug and a squeeze. Say thank you to yourself. Recognize that you showed up, that you took care of yourself today. And we'll gradually come up to a seat to close, dedicating our practice to all beings, hoping that the merits of our practice will be of benefit to others. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings live with peace and ease. Sending our wish, sealing our practice with a bow. With a beep and a bow.
Yeah. Thanks, Sadie.
You're welcome. Thank you